Take your hat, Gianfranco. Take your hat. Bravo.
Hello, how are you? I missed you. I take 1 week away and I feel like we haven't caught up. Sorry, I was very sick. I had the worst stomach bug I've ever had. It's something that's going around this area, just vomiting and diarrhea, and I ended up going to the hospital, but I'm fine. The baby's fine. It's just not very pleasant to experience, but I'm feeling amazing now. The nausea has ceased, which is wonderful, and I'm now 4 months pregnant and I have quite a tummy. This time it's a lot faster than with the first pregnancy, and I'm feeling really good. This episode I wanted to share with you something a little bit different, which is kind of cooking in real time. We had these friends, which is very Italian, just calling up on the weekend at about 10:30 and saying, oh, should we come over? Why don't we come over to your place for lunch? So that gave us about 2 hours to prepare everything. And this is, I don't know where you are, where you're living, but probably let me know in the comments, how far ahead does someone arrange a dinner or a lunch with you? Probably it's like the day before, or maybe even a week before if you're in a culture that's super organized. But Italians, it's always like the day of, or a couple of hours before, even for dinners. And so that is part of the lovely laid-back lifestyle of Italy, but it's also can be a little bit stressful because they're Italians. Obviously, everyone cares a lot about food, so I wanted to make something delicious. If you're trying to deal with a toddler and I'm trying to manage his nap time so that he's not crying when everyone comes, and prepare his lunch, and then also he's in a stage now where he just wants to be held by me all the time. So that makes cooking quite difficult because I've got to be like picking him up and walking around. And we are in the craziest heat wave as we have been for months now, and as I'm sure many people in the Northern Hemisphere are experiencing. So there's this hot wind coming up from Africa blowing onto Italy, and it is just like an oven outside. You can't even sit outside. So we, for the first time ever, served lunch inside in the kitchen, where we have air conditioning. But consequently, it makes cooking a bit harder because I just find that whereas normally I'm fine standing for like 6-7 hours of cooking, now being pregnant, and it's not like I have any pain, but it just takes it out of me, this heat. So I find myself a little bit weary. But this could be interesting because I think a lot of the time when you see a video, it's really lovely and someone's gently explaining to you, like, this is how we bake this, or this is how we prepare this. But there's no pressure because there's no actual people coming to eat the dish in 45 minutes or in 2 hours, as in my case. So in this case, I wanted to kind of put that pressure on myself just to show you how I actually prepare things. It's a very simple lunch, like it wasn't anything super sophisticated, but it was just a simple summer lunch prepared. 2 hours sounds like a lot, but you'll see, like I was just going nonstop. I didn't sit down for barely a second, and it's not a lot of time actually if you're trying to prepare just even 3 dishes. I think I only did 3 dishes, but it's still not much time, or at least it wasn't for me. So I like to show you this because it's kind of more realistic cooking of like, okay, what happens when you have people coming over, or even if it's just like a midweek and you're trying to, the deadline is your partner or your family or you are just hungry and exhausted, and so you want to get something on the table within an hour or something. We went for the easiest option, which is just barbecuing, because we had some salsicce. And you can say, like, the translation is sausages, but it's not a sausage. If you've had salsicce, it's like such good, it's amazing meat. We have this incredible butcher. It's so delicious, so flavorful. So these salsicce that we do on the barbecue are just incredible. Some of them have liver in them, which is very good for very healthy. And then there was some other meat, I think, that we happen to have. Guido will do the barbecue, and I will prepare all the side dishes. So I like to start with the dish that requires or benefits from the most time marinating. And in this case, I chose to start with this salsa that I do. I guess it's like a chutney, and it's very simple. I mean, I kind of just threw together this recipe, and I've been making it, let's see, for the past year, I think, and it's so delicious. I serve it. It's a spicy pepper chutney, and I make it with onions, and it gets really sort of jammy and sweet and delicious. I serve it in the morning for breakfast with guests, like if I do poached eggs and a little side of spicy pepper chutney, or with chicken. Chicken can be bland, and then you put this on top and it's just, transforms it. And then in this case, we were having these sausages, there's salsicha and some meat, and it's so yummy as a side to meat because I guess we do our meat quite basic, like when we're doing, like for example, a bistecca fiorentina, like a Florentine steak, we'll just do it with salt and that's it, and it's really quite classic. And then so having that little hit of chili salsa on the side is delicious. And also I like the fact that people can add it themselves, so they can add as much or as little as they want. But when you have a short amount of time, it's kind of risky, because if people show up and it's like, what have you been doing? Oh, I've got a chutney. It's like, that's not going to feed people, but it's so good. I always get so many compliments on it, and so I wanted to start with this. Also, we have our, in our vegetable garden, all these delicious peppers. So I picked all of these peppers with Gianfranco, who gets so excited about finding them. It's like an Easter egg hunt. So I begin by chopping the red onion, and I just want to get this going first of all, to sort of make it nice and sweet and mellow. Another thing I find that helps if I've got a lot of dishes to do quickly, I like to put a bowl on the side of my chopping board, so that's my compost bowl. So as I'm chopping things, I'm just discarding the waste, and I'm putting it in the bowl, so that then it's very easy. First of all, it keeps your kitchen tidy as you're cooking, but also it's very easy then when you got to quickly change dishes and you're going to a new recipe, you just put the whole bowl into the compost or into the bin, whatever you do with your organic waste. And so these onions I chopped fairly fine, because we kind of want them to just really melt down and go into the background. They're not the star of the dish. I put the onions on to just cook very slowly on a low heat with lots of olive oil, because this is a very olive oil rich dish, and because you want it to sort of be like oily and spicy, and all of the oil to be infused with the chilies, and yes, it's not a particularly healthy chutney, but we don't have it often. We just have it for special occasions. So I think that when you've got people coming in and you've got a limited time to cook, the key is to really be thinking ahead and thinking, okay, I've got a lot of chopping to do. This is going to be, I don't know, 5 to 8 minutes of chopping. What can be happening? What can be boiling or sauteing while I'm doing the chopping? And I see sometimes, like when Guido's cooking, like he'll go to chop all the things, and it's like, oh, okay, now I need a pot of water, and now I need to put on the water for the pasta. But if you can sort of have multiple things going while you're chopping, I think that's the key to speeding up the preparation time. Then I get on to chopping the peppers. This is a little bit laborious because I want them to be chopped quite fine, because I do want it to really spoon well over the meat and not be like big chunky pieces. The colors are so vibrant, they make me feel so happy, just like yellow and red and orange and green. They're not spicy peppers, they're kind of sweet. Some of them are a bit bitter, which is why they really benefit from being slow cooked and getting all lovely and sweet and salty and with all the other flavors. Look at those colors. Doesn't that just make your heart sing? Like, I never take it for granted being able to take something from the earth, put it in a basket, and then a few steps into my kitchen, and there it's in the pan, and it's so wonderful. So the only thing is now with this heat, everything is going to be dying. So that's why I'm in a rush to use it all, or can it, or preserve it, or whatever, so that we don't lose it to this crazy heat. So the onions are done. You don't want to, as you're chopping the peppers, you want to just keep checking on those onions, because we don't want them to be crispy. We certainly don't want them to burn. We want them to just be really just soft and definitely cooked through. And then I add some more olive oil. Yes, don't be dismayed. It's a lot of olive oil, but whatever. This is a decadent weekend lunch, and also people are only having just a small spoonful. They're not eating like great portions of this. At this point, I add in the peppers with the onion and mix that around, and then I add some dried chili flakes. If I'm having people over and I've got to cook in a rush and I don't want surprises, so I want to cook with the dried chili flakes that I know the heat. I can really anticipate. Even I don't measure anything out, but I can sort of anticipate how spicy it's going to be, because we grow our own chilies. But even with our own chilies, they change over time. Like if they've been picked, a week ago, they're different from the ones that I picked today. So I find that a little bit stressful with the heat. If we were just cooking for us, it's fine. But when I'm cooking for other people, and I didn't want, I wanted to know how spicy it's going to be. So I add in the chili, and I add it at this stage just to sort of bloom the spice. And you really want to cook the peppers down quite a bit. And so add in however much olive oil you need to keep them lovely and glossy. Then I get on to the garlic. I like a lot of garlic. This is going to have a little bit of sugar in it, so it's kind of going to have a lot of flavors that are going to amalgamate. And I find that if you've got really intense flavors that can stand up to garlic, then the garlic's not going to dominate.
How are you feeling?
A bit faint. Se devo mangiare qualcosa.
Fermati allora, fermati subito. Stop. Stop.
Sì.
Stop. Switch off. Sit down and let me know what would you like. Okay? Some bread with Asiago?
No. Un po' di yogurt con walnuts.
Allora sedere qui.
Did you ask someone to bring gelato?
Sì.
For the first time in my life, I know you're going to think I'm silly, but I didn't prepare a dessert. And I cannot tell you, this is the only time it's ever happened to me that I haven't ever prepared and offered a homemade dessert. And it was shocking to me, but this is just me saying, okay, you have to limit yourself, Kylie, and just not try and do everything that you would have done normally. So I thought, no, we're going to ask the friends to bring some gelato, and that's fine. Actually, the fact is, nobody is disappointed. I'm probably the one that's the most disappointed, because when I go places, if there's not dessert, I get really sad. Or there's not an interesting dessert. I mean, gelato's delicious in Italy, so.
Non hai parlato con Diana, ovviamente.
No, con Diana no, perché non penso neanche la vedere uno.
La scrivo io?
Sì, l'hanno detto.
Ma chiediamo se porta anche la babysitter? Penso di sì, no?
Io penso di sì. Questo va bene?
No, okay, there's another one. C'è un altro aperto that's ours. Thank you.
Ma il piccolo o grande?
Grande.
Perché sono così aggrappato? Quelli dati lì. È sotto le mani. Sorry.
No. Poco, basta. Meno male che i cioccolatini stanno presi, no?
You may be asking, where's Gianfranco? Fortunately, at this point, our neighbors had just taken him. He was playing in the garden with his tractor at their place. So that was a godsend, because it meant that I could move around the kitchen quite quickly without having to kind of pick him up or sit him on the table while I was cooking, which is what I always normally do. Guido's saying to me, just sit down, just relax. But as you know, if you're anyone who hosts regularly, you can relax once you know that you've got up to a certain point with the preparation. And
adesso sale grosso.
Sì, sale grosso.
obviously, you don't have to add as much olive oil if you don't want, but we have the olive oil that Guido's family makes that has such a wonderful flavor, which adds to the taste as well. I added in a can, I think it was 300 mils of crushed tomatoes. I like just a little bit of texture, so that's why I wanted the crushed tomatoes. But I don't want this to be a tomato sauce. So I think it's kind of, it depends on how many peppers you use, but I like to just always look at the ratio because I add a different amount every time. And I look at the peppers and I kind of see, okay, it's not looking too red. Like I don't want it to be like really soupy, like a tomato soup. Then I add some white wine for acidity, which I just cook off the alcohol. And then after that, I add in a little bit of tomato passata. So I like that combination of the chunky canned tomatoes and the tomato passata because they add very different components to the taste. Then again, just looking at it and saying, all right, a lot of that liquid is going to evaporate, but I don't want it to be too tomatoey, just to be to the tomato liquid to kind of bind it all together and give a little bit of sweetness and acidity. Then I add some brown sugar, just a small amount. And the reason I do this at this point is because I'll taste it and see how spicy it is. Sometimes I've overdone it a bit, or if someone says, oh no, this person's coming and I know that they're not keen on a lot of chili, and I think, okay, I better soften it a bit with some sugar. So I tend to never cook with sugar in savory dishes because I just think vegetables are so lovely and sweet on their own. In this case, I think it's a chutney. It really works with just having that mix of like salty, spicy sweetness. Sugar is a great fix if you've accidentally put in too much chili or you didn't realize how hot it was going to be. However, if you've been a little bit cautious on the chili and then you add in the sugar, that will completely override the spiciness. So I like to just go hard on the chili and then taste it and then add a little bit of sugar, stir it around, let it sort of simmer for a bit, and then add some more sugar if you need it. I cover it at this point because I don't want to lose too much liquid, and I think if you were just to sort of keep that on a medium heat, it would just sort of dry up and even start burning. And what I want is for it to just like slowly cook and all marinate together. So I put the lid on so that it retains a little bit of water, but you might want to just keep going back every 5-10 minutes or so and just giving it a stir, making sure nothing's sticking to the bottom. On to the next recipe. So again, this goes back to what I was saying about just prepping and thinking ahead. Like I was about to peel and chop potatoes. So in that case, I'm like, okay, let's first get on the water for the potatoes so that can be boiling while I'm doing all the peeling. These potatoes were from our neighbor's Agisto, from his garden, delicious. I was making a Mediterranean potato salad. Because it was so hot, I wanted something that was cold, but I needed it to be substantial so that it really could feed a lot of people. This is so delicious. It's not just one-dimensional, like, a ton of mayonnaise and some corn. No, this is Mediterranean style. So capers and lots of herbs, oregano, sun-dried tomatoes, and just really dynamic. You want every mouthful to be like, oh, what's that? Oh, also serving it cold is, I think, a really lovely accompaniment to the spicy salsa and the very salty salsiccia. So I'm always trying to think about like, oh, what's the perfect like balance in someone's mouth, like when they're eating all the flavors together. At this point, I still thought I was going to do a dessert, and I was going to do the fastest dessert that I have in my repertoire is my apricot olive oil cake. And this, I'll put a link for the video, but I mean, I call it my apricot olive oil cake, but it's actually, you can use any kind of fruit. Sometimes I do it with peaches, sometimes I do it with cherries. So any stone fruit in summer is delicious, and it's so quick and it's so yummy. It's not as sophisticated, it's more rustic, but it's such a crowd pleaser. I didn't get time to do that though, so, but at this point I'm peeling the potatoes thinking, okay, I could get this on, I could do that, I could do that. Yeah, and then at the same time I'm thinking, oh my gosh, Gianfranco's going to need lunch soon and I've got to get his lunch on. So once the potatoes were on, I checked on my salsa, and you just want to run the spoon around the pan and check that there's no sort of liquid. There shouldn't be any kind of runny tomato liquid. It should just all be lovely and jammy and textured, but still glossy. So, you know, if it's not glossy, add some more olive oil, because it really makes the chutney or the salsa, whatever you want to call it. And then I put that into 2 dishes. When I'm having a big, like long banquet table of people, I like to have 2 dishes so that people aren't passing it up and down. Also because it's a little bit oily, I like to serve it with a saucer underneath or on a tray, so that then people aren't sort of dripping olive oil over the tablecloth. And then that's ready to go, and I like that to be prepared first so that it has the maximum time to marinate, and it gets so delicious. And this is just stayed in our fridge, and since that day we've had it on panini. We had it on panini with like prosciutto and avocado. It was so yummy. It's so versatile. Guido got these gigantic zucchini, which he's thinking maybe we can do if we don't use the internal
the middle part is the one that goes sort of soggy here, but the side part is still firm, so it's like è come una zucca sostanzialmente.
Yeah, like a pumpkin.
Like a pumpkin, so I want to try and do this on the barbecue, obviously.
Like zucchini steaks. Even
See.
though I know you hate calling it steak.
Oh, it's fine, as long as it's nice. Ciao.
At that point he was called away, so I took over from him with chopping the zucchini. At this point Guido comes in and says, aren't we having a pasta course? And I'm like, what? But I said, it's so hot, do you really think people are going to want a pasta course as well as like the meat and the salads and the vegetables and everything else? And then we had all this focaccia as well, like for when people arrived, because this is custom in Italy that you have 2 courses. Well, not everywhere, but with a lot of people it is. And I just said, oh look, it's so hot, do you really think people are going to want pasta as well? Like, we've got so much meat on the barbecue, we've got the potato salad, which is really quite filling. But he was like freaking out that there wasn't another course. So I said, okay, I'll do a gazpacho, because at least in this crazy heat, a cold soup would be delicious. And then using all of our vegetables from the garden, tomato, cucumber, basil, everything. I've done a gazpacho recipe before. Go and look at this video. I'll link it on screen or in the description box below. I'll put it. So I was like, okay, I'll do a gazpacho. But at this point I'm thinking, oh my gosh, there's like, we're getting to the final 45 minutes or half hour before people arrive. So, and I still had to do my potato salad. Love you.
Quanto è brava la mia guaipetina. Neanche l'avessi fatta apposta la trovavo così brava. Bubu. Questi l'hai dato l'olio?
No, non ancora.
Guido was worried. He's like, oh no, I don't think I'm going to have enough time to do them on the barbecue. Can you do them in the oven? So I was like, okay.
Forno vengono? Al forno non vederlo?
Sì, potrei... Sì,
Su una bella teglia piatta?
sì, va bene.
No?
Sì, ok. No, è solo che devo ancora fare la torta, quindi... Cioè, se vuoi le metto ora nel forno.
Sì, ora, poi si mettono...
Ok.
No, ma se
Volevo
ne...
evitare di accendere il forno, ma...
Allora no, amore, non importa.
No, facciamo. Ma grigliate vengono bene.
Mm?
Grigliate nel forno
Le zucchine?
vengono bene, sì, le zucchine. Però così sono grandi, no? Cioè non puoi mettere un pezzo così sulla... Cioè...
Il punto è che se così cuoce un po' tipo bistecca, secondo me.
Sì, ma...
So I started with chopping some parsley, some fresh parsley. Then I have some dried oregano from the garden that Gianfranco proudly cut, and some capers, just because I want that little hit of briny saltiness, and some sun-dried tomatoes, which are lovely. They add that acidity and the sweetness, and I chop them up quite fine so that you're not getting like a whole little tomato in your mouth. You're getting like just a hint of it, and you're almost creating like a sauce rather than having all these ingredients just jumbled in together. I like fresh raw celery. The crunch is so delicious in combination with the soft, creamy potato, I find. So I chop that quite fine just so that people who didn't like raw celery wouldn't be offended.
A tomato salad with some cetriolo?
What, as a starter?
No, as a side dish for the salsiccia. So it's all, is it that...
Oh, I've got the potato salad.
Okay, but that will be enough for everybody.
Then I added lots of mayonnaise, olive oil, some Dijon mustard, and I mix this all together, and it is salty and creamy and sweet and crunchy and soft and just so yummy. I had a spoonful while I was there and I was like, this is extraordinary, it's so wonderful. And then I put the potatoes, which I just, once I took them out from boiling, I just ran them under some cold water to just sort of, also so that it didn't like heat up the mayonnaise, the sauce that I just made. So I like to cool down the potatoes beforehand, before adding them, and then you mix it all around, season it with some extra salt and pepper. And then that went into the fridge because it's even nicer when it's really lovely and cold, and you can really taste all of those flavors. I have to say, normally, if people arrive and I'm still cooking something, that's fine. But I believe it's a whole different, or I've found that it's a whole different experience having people over with kids, because it's like their kids are running around everywhere. And that becomes a bit stressful for me, because I think if I'm still cooking, I can't be looking after, oh, where is that kid going? What are they breaking? What are they putting dirty hands on? You know, because I kind of need to be like looking where the kids are going and like gently policing the kids. Not with everyone's kids. Like we have some friends who the kids come and they're super polite. They're very respectful. Like they don't go into other rooms of the house. But we have a lot of friends who, it's a more relaxed approach to parenting, and they have kids who just wander through the whole house. So you kind of, I feel like I can't be cooking because I have to be running after their kids to be like, oh, where are you going? Hey, wait, what are you doing? Because you can't, this is a huge house. I can't, we don't have like locks on the doors. You can't sort of just like close off and say, I mean, you could, we try to say like, don't go in there, but the kids will just, when you've got lots of kids, it's kind of hard to run after them. And Guido feels the same way. He's like, oh my gosh, it's so stressful, like looking where they're going, seeing if they're destroying something in the garden, are they destroying something in the living room. So some kids are very independent, let's say, and they just will go places and you'll find stuff in other rooms just broken. and the parents are, I guess, they're probably exhausted, and probably they have a more relaxed approach. But for us, like after this day that we had, like I went into Gianfranco's little cottage that my father built him, and I didn't realize, because it was like the other side of the garden, but they'd gone inside, they'd taken down this barricade that I put up, and then they'd broken this little wooden toy that my father made, and it was like so disappointing. But anyway, having that little vent, I don't know, how can you, I mean, this is the thing. Normally, if you have a bit more time, you can rush around and put away anything that could be broken by a child, but that's pretty hard. Like if you've got 2 hours. Meanwhile, I'm also preparing a pasta al pomodoro for the bambini. Okay, at this point, I think I had 7 or 8 minutes until the guests arrived. I still hadn't showered. I still hadn't, set the table and cleaned the actual eating area, which I was cooking on. So it was a little bit tight, but I always feel, I don't know if you're like this, but I always feel I just want to get everything done and the table set so that the space is clean and beautiful and all the dishes are done and there's not like dirty dishes piled up in the sink. And then I can always keep people waiting if I'm going up and getting changed, and Guido can talk to them or whatever. But I don't want to sort of be looking perfect and beautiful, but like the kitchen is a mess and the table isn't set, and so that's my order of priority. Also because I'm not someone who takes a long time to get ready. I'm very fast. I have a cold shower of like 30 seconds. I don't really do have a big makeup routine, so that is always the last priority. I chopped yet another onion. This one could be chopped quite roughly because it's all going to be blended. I like to cook the onion just because, as I've often said, like sometimes people don't digest raw onion so well, and I like the flavor that it gives it by sort of caramelizing it in some olive oil and chili. And I like my gazpacho to be really hot because you're having a cold soup, which some people are like, oh, cold soup. So I think you need the spiciness to give it a little bit of punch. For some reason, I forgot. I normally cook also pancetta and blend that in as well. And that gives a wonderful smokiness, but I just forgot in the moment that I do that. But anyway, so then I have my onions and my chili. I chop the garlic, which I just sort of put into the pan, so it was kind of heated, but just at the end, like it wasn't really cooked through, because I don't mind having a bit of raw garlic. And then some white wine vinegar, quite a lot. I think it can take it. Sea salt, pepper, paprika. And then I just rushed out to the garden and got a ton of tomatoes and cucumbers. Just normally I add the ice in lower, so it's down by the blade, so that because you don't want the blender to be heating up too much. But I forgot, so I had to put the ice on top. Yes, lots of olive oil. At that point we ran out of olive oil, so Guido was running off to the barn to get another big vat of olive oil. And then I blend that. I put a little bit of bread in just because it thickens it, and I had just this little focaccia. It was just a very small amount, considering like I had quite a decent serving of gazpacho, one thick slice of bread, and that gives it a nice creaminess. Also makes it a little bit more substantial, so people don't just feel like they're drinking like a cold smoothie or something, you know. And while it's blending, I was chopping the fresh basil. I like to sort of put the basil in at the end so that it doesn't have like too much time being blended, because it doesn't need it, you know. It can just be, I put it in at the end and just do a quick whiz on the blender, and then that keeps it nice and fresh. So I added some more olive oil and lots more ice into the gazpacho because I wanted to quickly cool it down and make it really lovely and chilled for when I was about to serve it. And put that into the fridge.
Have a shower, don't have a shower.
Yeah, I will. I'll just clean the table and
La pasta è buttata?
Sì, sì. Wine glasses. No, that's why I wanted to put wine glasses on the table and stuff like that. We have some pesto. Maybe I'll just do it with pesto. What do you think?
Uno di quei barattoli di pomodoro hai fatto te?
No, but sono bambini. They leave half of it, you know.
Se no falla fredda con pomodori. I'm just worried if they don't eat pesto. Sorry. Some baby's gonna be picky.
Okay.
Sorry, just.
Okay, I'll just use passata.
I set the table, put everything out, cutlery, wine glasses, flowers. Then I rushed upstairs to quickly shower and change into a nice outfit. And then I came down. And then while people were there and while I had Gianfranco, who had just woken up, then I put some garlic and olive oil in a pan, chopped up little cubes of focaccia and made little croutons. And then you can also do some pancetta, which I normally do as well, just to sprinkle on top of the gazpacho with some fresh basil as well. I'll put in a clip of how the gazpacho normally looks. The reason I don't have any shots of the final meal is because I just finding more and more that it feels disrespectful to be filming friends or family. No, not so much family because I eat with them often, but if friends are coming over, I won't film them, or if I'm in their place, I certainly wouldn't film because it just feels like you're working and then you're not present. And I like to be really present, and I also I don't want people to feel observed. Like, it's the weekend, they're here to enjoy our company. And if you have, I feel like so many people these days, even just with their phones, are filming things, and it's kind of like, not everybody wants to be filmed. You know, a lot of people feel, particularly women, feel very self-conscious if they're caught in a shot and they don't know where it's going. And these days, even if someone's not a professional like me, you don't know where that's going. It's going on social media, and maybe they don't want to be, filmed while they're just slurping some soup or something, or they don't want their children filmed, for example. So. Yeah, we had such an amazing time. It was so wonderful. And, we served the soup, we served all the barbecue meats with the salsa, with the potato salad. Oh, then the zucchini as well, the grilled zucchini. And it was wonderful. And we had gelato and karaoke afterwards, which was so fun, just singing all these Italian songs. And I kind of wish I had footage to share with you, but then at the same time, I'm sure you understand, because these are our friends, and it's their right to be able to just relax and not be observed. And then also for me, if I'm serving out things and I've got Gianfranco on my hip, it's just impossible for me to film as well. So I'll just have to describe it to you and tell you a great time was had by all. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I tried to include a little bit of the conversation Guido and I were having to show you the reality of cooking and rushing around. And Guido at this point he was running around while I was cooking. He's running around like putting the pool cleaner in and preparing the wood for the barbecue, and what else was he doing? Lots of other things. So yeah, he was like run off his feet as well and sweating like crazy. So in the end, like, you have 2 hours of madness, like trying to get everything prepared, and then it's just hours and hours of a long leisurely lunch, lots of fun in the pool, and the bambini just all playing, and it's so fun now with Gianfranco. I've had such an amazing week of eating healthy and exercising, and I feel so positive and charged and just vital. And I would love to share with you what I've been doing, just because I get really inspired by seeing other people have a really healthy reset of their body and their diet and everything. So if you would like that, I will work on it this week. If you would like to see that. Thank you for watching. If you feel like you can be bothered, just clicking that little thumbs up, that like button, it would be so meaningful to me. Thank you to my patrons, these names you see on the screen, and I will see you next episode. Alla prossima.